Hello, I'm Catherine Calder, head of school at Meadow Montessori, and if it's fall, it's time for the History Fair. It's no coincidence that our History Fair falls at this time of year, a time of Thanksgiving, because we want to give thanks to all of those who came before us. So why do we do History Fair projects? We do them for two reasons. It's no coincidence that History Fair coincides with Thanksgiving. History really is, according to Maria Montessori, a chance for us to recognize and acknowledge the gifts that have been given to us from those who've come before us. We also want to start our year by engaging our children in something about which they feel passionate. So that's the number one step. The very first thing you do with a History Fair project is you choose a topic. We strongly suggest that your child be the one who chooses the topic. Topics range from things like games and sporting events to historical moments. The toughest History Fair projects and the ones that children often want to do are biographies. And biographies are interesting because they're about people, and we're always interested in people, but they're difficult in terms of developing a thesis. So just beware of that. A thesis statement is your child's idea, opinion, about a topic. It's something he or she wants to prove by doing the History Fair project. So that's a really important idea to keep in mind. This is the first time we really introduce thesis to young children, all the way up through 8th grade. And of course, any kind of later academic work is predicated on an understanding of a thesis statement. Well, you can't really develop a thesis until you find resources. So go to the library and get print resources. Please don't rely on the internet for resources because those are not reliable. We want children using print resources. A great place to find resources at the library is in the J books, the juvenile books. They're loaded with information, but it's at a reading level that is really accessible to children. And by children, I even mean middle school students. You've got materials, you've got books, you have a thesis. It's time to be taking notes. And you'll want to, the whole time your child is reading, he or she will want to be taking notes and writing things down on note cards, because it's from these note cards you will move to the next step, and that is assembling these note cards into an outline. This is very tactile, but it helps children understand how to sort information into discrete groupings. And from those discrete groupings, an outline will emerge, and from an outline, a paper will emerge. All of the information that I have acquired is on these cards. I put the books aside because I don't want to be in danger of copying something directly from a book. I want my words to be my words. This is the meat of your whole project, is doing all this background work, because very often children will find that they start down a path and their reading takes them someplace else, and it is the joy of discovery. So give this portion of the project time, maybe 3 to 4 weeks. So the outline is written, so make sure that gets written down, and then we begin writing. So we work from note cards, and it's always, always in the child's own words. It doesn't matter that maybe their nuance or their sophistication isn't what you would see in the project as a parent. It's what the children understand about what they're doing. From the outline, I write my first paper, my first draft. The introduction is very important, and then the conclusion. First paragraph, introduction. Last paragraph, conclusion. What does the introduction hold? It's the thesis. The very last sentence of your first paragraph holds the thesis. The conclusion says, aha, I told you, I proved it. In between, of course, is all of the evidence that your child has accumulated. First draft can be all over the place. The teacher will look at it, help give pointers, let the child know if he or she has digressed from the original thesis. Teachers are here to help, and they're more than willing to work with children. Meanwhile, the dreams of the project board start to emerge. And the project board, to many of the children, are let's call it the icing on the cake. Sometimes parents get really overly involved with creating a board, but let the child do it. And so behind me there are a bunch of project boards, and you can see some of them have typewritten work. Some of them have handwritten work. Almost all of them have some sort of map, because history is related to geography and we want to know where these things are happening. They may have a graph. Some have a timeline, and any Montessori child knows very well what a timeline is, showing the sequence of events over time. Some of them have photographs. Some of them have drawings and handmade pictures. It's all okay. It's really what your child wants. Display boards can be very simple. They can be handwritten. There's no particular way to organize them. Many of the children will put the thesis statement or the introduction in the upper left-hand corner, and then the conclusion in the bottom right-hand corner. And that works because a thesis says, this is what I'm going to tell you. And the conclusion says, this is what I've told you. We've got our board. We have our final draft. The final draft is the final edit of the paper. And of course, it would have a bibliography. But the real point of the history fair is to share one's learning. So it's the presentation, the oral presentation that happens at school on the Monday of History Fair week. And we really welcome parents to come in and watch. Here, the student has to distill their project in some key points. So the thesis statement would be present, major points that support the thesis statement, and then the conclusion. Each child stands up and presents his or her History Fair project to classmates. They can do this by looking at note cards that they've developed. Some children even memorize their presentation. But the important thing is to go ahead and share your learning. Students are then asked questions by their classmates. The give and take is really what we're after. And the high interest children see in somebody else's work. A handful of students, 12, are chosen to present to a panel of judges on Tuesday afternoon. And then those judges who are experts in the field of history, community leaders, and a high school or middle school student will rank the projects, giving somebody a grand prize, etc. Again, the most important part of that Tuesday afternoon is that the whole school assembles together to listen to those presentations, learn, ask questions, and share what we know. So 10 steps to a History Fair project. The only thing you need is time. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks to really develop all of this, so get going. And passion. Choose a topic that your child really, really cares about and wants to know more about, and wants to share what he or she learns. Thank you, and let's celebrate history.